So you're wondering how the economy is doing, and you look at the unemployment rate. Well, in reality, it only shows a limited picture. So let's understand why. So to get started, let's understand how we calculate the unemployment rate. So the unemployment rate is the amount of people that are unemployed, which are people without work, actively looking for work, over the amount of people in the labor force, which is a combination of people that are working and actively looking for work, employed and unemployed. So in that situation, you have this relationship between the two, but there's a lot of people that we disregard that are not part of this calculation. And that is anyone that's not in the labor force. So whether you are too young to count, or whether you are studying, whether you are outside of the country, all of those situations, you are not counted in the labor force. If you're on welfare, the same thing. And therefore, you're not actively looking for work, you're not working, you just don't appear in this calculation. So because of these limitations, you end up with a situation where you can have two politicians saying conflicting arguments, and they could actually both be telling the truth. One of the statements could be that during this president's term in office, they say that the unemployment rate has fallen, and that the competing politician says, well, during that same time period, the amount of people with jobs has gone down. So here we're not talking about jobs lost and more jobs being created. The total people working has gone down. So you'd normally think this would not work out, that one of them must be lying. Well, in reality, they both can be telling the truth. It is possible that there is a smaller unemployment rate, which would normally make you think that there's more of those unemployed people that found jobs. Therefore, it's reducing that unemployment rate because the denominator hasn't changed and the numerator has gone down. Therefore, the unemployment rate has gone down. But it's also possible that something else has happened. I won't solve this problem. This is a kind of question that you will typically see on an exam, so make sure that you study it, that you're able to prove it. But for here, we just want to understand the impact of discouraged workers. So let's say we have 10 workers or 10 unemployed people, over 90 people that are working, so over 100, because you have those 10 unemployed over the 10 plus 90, which is 100 people. So you have 10% unemployment rate. And let's say these people have been unemployed for a while and they just can't get a break, they can't get work. Well, at some point, they might decide to stop looking. So if we just think about that effect on its own, if they stop looking, whether they decide, well, you know what, I'm going to go back to school, get more training, it's going to make it easier for me to find a job afterwards. That's one of my options. Okay, that could be one of the solutions. That person might decide, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to go on welfare for a bit. Not very common, but that could also be another out for this person. Or this person might say, you know what, there's not much jobs here. I'm going to bounce back to this other country that I'm dual citizen with, and I'm going to find work in this other country instead. And all of those three instances, this individual that appeared in the numerator and denominator as unemployed no longer exists. So if I just take one individual leaving, now I have 9 unemployed people over 9 unemployed plus the 90 that are still working, 9 over 99. So roughly speaking, I've gone from 10% to somewhere close to 9%. And that's not because someone found work. And if I would have had the same individual go from being unemployed to working, he would have gone from still 9 people as a numerator, but now it would have been 91 workers and 9 unemployed. It would have been 9 over 100, which would have been exactly 9%. So similar effect, 9 over 99 is very close to 9 over 100, but very different reality. So as people leave the labor force to go back to school or for the other reasons that were mentioned, it's going to have a similar impact than someone finding work. At the end of this, you have to understand that as people get discouraged and leave the labor force, it's going to have a downward effect on the unemployment rate. And the opposite is also true if people that finish their studies come into the labor force and do not find a job immediately. Well, those people that didn't exist and now appear in the labor force but still haven't found work are going to increase the unemployment rate, even though the amount of people that were working before hasn't changed. So we have to understand this kind of effect that happens through these shifts in and out of the labor force. So hopefully through this information, you'll be able to understand and explain how both politicians can be telling the truth. Hope you found this one interesting. Catch you in the next one. If you found this video interesting, please consider subscribing or joining my class where I guide you to apply and expand on the information found in these videos to real-life examples. Have a good day.